Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting located in Central Florida. I'm also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast, and we exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. Today's guest is Curtis Boyd. I'm excited to have him on here. He is the owner and founder of Uniservices, which is a handyman service. Welcome to the show, Curtis. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Yep, we're based here out of Charleston, South Carolina. We do a little bit of everything when it comes to home services, remodel and assembly. We've been in business since roughly about February of actually this year.
Nice.
So it's short-lived, but it's actually been really good transition for us.
That's awesome. So, what were you doing before you decided to start your own business?
So before this, I owned a moving and delivery company that I bought into when I moved here in Charleston, South Carolina. Um, and that was a partnership with a buddy of mine. Unfortunately, we separated ways because that didn't work out, but it was okay because it was mutual.
Yeah.
The business did well. We just didn't see eye to eye on certain things, which is completely okay. That's a part of business, but we moved
Yeah.
on from it and here we are.
Yeah, yeah. I've been there. Partnerships are tough,
Yeah.
so anyone listening to this, I would be very, just leery of going into a business partnership. It's really hard that I've found to be able to manage the expectations of both parties, right? So, I think what you get into is, one person's doing one thing, the other's doing another. Both people are putting in effort.
Yep.
One might be more than the other, and then you get into those like squabbles of like who deserves what, and it's really hard to manage that and those expectations. So man, I'm super leery of like going into business partnerships now just because I've been a part of two failed partnerships,
Yeah.
and it's really tough. So I totally feel you there. But as far as like the moving industry goes, I've got a good friend of mine here locally owns a moving company and does really good. His
Nice.
name's Colton Jones, and he owns Top Team Moving based out
Okay.
of like the Melbourne area in Florida. So not
Awesome.
sure if you've ever heard of him,
No,
but
I've never heard of them, but there's so many moving companies out there.
yeah, yeah.
It's like that's one of those things. You get the moving company that's top tier, like probably your buddy Colton, and then you get the moving companies that it's just the guy that's grabbing possibly even maybe a U-Haul, but they don't pad anything.
Yeah,
So
right.
there's so many out there, but it takes a lot to run a successful moving company. But that's
Yeah.
awesome, though. Definitely a good industry for people to be in, especially if it's something you don't even have to love the job, but if you love taking care of clients, like it's an awesome industry to be in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, he seems to be pretty passionate about it, does really well, has a great reputation. He's a young guy too. He's only
Yeah.
23 and just
Nice.
he's crushing it. He's a good guy. And so anyway, that's cool that you were involved in that. So
Yeah.
transitioning into the handyman services,
Mhm.
I'm sure that's a bit of a difference, but business. I feel like at the end of the day, especially with home services,
Yeah.
it's really about customer service,
100%.
Like I feel like now I'm sure each industry is a little bit nuanced, but I
Yeah.
feel if you can offer great customer service, you could do pretty much any home service business, right? Especially if
100%.
you have leadership ability.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
so we talked about this before this show started that you're part-time off the ladder. What do you find that you are like best at and passionate with your business? What kind of things are you doing in your business to just help it grow and scale?
I'd say basically my main thing is making sure that jobs are getting completed in a successful amount of time and manner. Just because, when you drag things on, people get exhausted, people get antsy. Customers are like, these people have been in my house for 4 months, and it's like,
Yeah.
and that's just I mean, obviously some projects take that long, but if you organize them and correct, set them up the right way, you can go through and get through these jobs and knock them out in, a couple days, maybe a week, things like that over taking months at a time. And
Yeah.
then when I'm actually in the field, I'm more so like the assemble guy. I see a Pilates table, I'm all over it. You see a treadmill, I'm putting it together. Showing the guys out there like, look, these things are easy. And that's why I
Hmm.
like to do them because it's like you get to a point in your life where, I had my son about 3 years ago and I started realizing you can literally dedicate your whole day to other people and then you can completely forget about your family in a second. It's not like you forget about them, you just get caught up working. So you're like cheating on your family with time, because you only get so
Yeah.
much time when your kids are growing up. My son's 3 now, and I was like, okay, what are things that like I like to do in the industry that I've always loved to do that's super easy for me, doesn't take any type of thought process. And obviously, you don't want to always do the easiest things because those are super highly like the market's usually saturated on stuff like that because nobody likes to do hard stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like if you provide an excellent service and an unforgettable experience for that client, you're going to be busy regardless.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I'm on like when I'm in the field, that's the things I do. When I'm off the ladder, I'm more so project managing, keeping everybody in line, making sure the guys are taken care of and they're there working. Stop by there, say hi, talk to the client, bring the guys some food, some drinks, let them know you appreciate them. And little stuff like that goes a long way, you
Yeah.
know.
Now, let me ask you this. I found you through the Jobber Entrepreneurship group on
Mhm.
Facebook. Are you a Jobber user?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
So let's just go down this
Mhm.
topic for a moment. You
Mhm.
talk about organization.
Yes.
I feel like it's not rocket science to like in order to offer a great service and to have a customer experience that your customers are going to rave about is a big part of that is just being organized.
Yes.
So obviously like that's part of what Jobber does for home service companies. It's like if you're listening to this and you're a home service business owner and you feel like you're just like spinning your tires and you're trying to figure out how to grow your company and you're like,
Yeah.
man, I've got upset customers and everything seems like a mess. Well, if you're like writing down information on like paper invoices and losing them in your dirty work truck and misplacing papers and all of this stuff and your business is totally disorganized, you can't stay on schedule, you don't do what you say you're going to do, you can't remember details of what you've offered. Well, that's going to be a reflection of your business and the service that you offer. So,
100%.
obviously, Jobber helps home service business owners to be organized. So, I'm
Yes, sir.
curious, how do you, as a business owner, use Jobber to keep things organized and run your business better?
Basically, the number one thing I realize is like being able to have all your clients under one platform and be able to just offer them services when it comes to like sending quotes. Just the ease of being able instead of being like, oh, well, hold on, let me go to my car real quick or something like that, and let me see if I can calculate this price up for you. When it's really you already have these prices already, right in your quote. So when you do an on-site estimate, you go do your on-site assessment. You can do the on-site assessment through Jobber right there on the phone. You can type in any notes, take any pictures, and you just create a really smooth experience for the client. And then it's like when you send the invoice at the end, you can email them and send the work in an email so they know the work was completed. They can get their signature. And on top of that, they have a really, like, I really love CRMs that have a really secure payment processor.
Yeah.
Because man, I like when I started my first, well, I had a moving company in Michigan, first option delivery. When I had that, I was just all paper and pen,
Hmm.
old school. And it was like I thought to myself, I'm just like now, I'm like, dude, if I would have had a CRM then, like I was always on point, but it was more so just like you have to fight so much harder. Like, dang, when did I do Mrs. Judy's job? And then you're looking through 500, 600 papers trying to
Yeah.
find when you did Miss Judy. Like, was it July? Was it August? And you try to remember and timestamp every when really when you got Jobber, you just go on there and type in Judy. It'll tell you all the work you've done for, and it keeps everything organized for you. And then, like on top of that, like I said, customers are usually pretty weary about giving their credit card, and it's like when you have this system, it's more comfortable. It's more of a comfortable system. They're familiar with it. It's super easy to use from their side. Anytime like I have my admin Amanda, she's doing anything, like I tell her, put yourself as a test in there and see how the customers see it. Because if they call us with a question, we got to know how to answer that for them. We can't just hop on chat, and it's just nice to be able to do those things. So I love Jobber. Like that's one of the things. Like the first thing when we started, I said we need a CRM. I don't know. I was looking through like House Call Pro, Jobber. There was a couple other ones, and I just found Jobber to just be more easy, more efficient. It was more
Yeah.
spoken about, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. I kind of compare like it's like Jobber is like iPhone and all the other CRMs are like Android. So,
100%,
I don't
100%.
know. I don't know if you're an iPhone or an Android person, but
Yeah,
I'm iPhone all the way, and I like the ease of use, right? That's
yep,
why like I used to back before I ever owned my own business, I used to sell phones actually,
yep,
and everybody would be like, I love Android, and it was like I had an Android for the longest time, and the platform was like really customizable and
yeah.
complicated, kind of. And then I moved to iPhone. I was like, this is so simple. It's
Super simple.
so simple. And like everything's connected and it's easy to use, it's easy to understand. So, I think Jobber is, like you said, it's very simple. I think
Yep,
they've designed a platform that's easy for customers to work with
yep,
and integrate into their business. So, um, yeah, I 100% agree. I'm a huge
yeah,
advocate for using Jobber. So,
yeah.
um, that's awesome. So, um, what are some of the other things that you enjoy, with Jobber in your business? What do you think, obviously you really like to stay organized and
Yeah.
manage your projects well.
hmm
How else is Jobber helping you to deliver, a really great
Premium service.
experience? Yeah.
Another thing is like reaching back out to previous clients. Like a lot of people in the service industry is like all about new acquisition. And I under new acquisition's hard. It's expensive. It's a lot of work. But you've already done work for your, say, this year alone, like we've got 176 clients
Hmm.
since, and we've only been using Jobber since April. That's not counting from like in February. We were just using trials, just seeing how we liked it. But what Jobber's been able to do is through like their marketing system to be able to take all those people's emails or phone numbers and just reach out to them, say, hey, we did a job for you, and it'll automatically set which date you did the job and when you will last visit at their house and say, we miss you. Here's a 15% off coupon. And they might be like, holy crap, I need my toilet, replaced. I might as well use
Yeah.
this 15%. And so reaching back out, using the marketing through it and all the integration that it has to be able to reach out to old clientele and stuff like that has been huge for us. Like, actually just reached out to a client the other day through it, and she's like, "Yep, actually, Curtis, we got some work for you." Because I'm headed to Michigan. We're in Findlay, Ohio, visiting some family right now. But she was like, when you guys get back, we can go ahead and schedule some, or we can schedule it while you're in Michigan. She's like, but I don't want to bother you on vacation. I'm like, look, it's super easy for me. Everything's in here. Just tell me what you need, and I can send over the quote. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just it's just nice having that ease and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And
You know,
also checking like the financials. That's another big one. Like just knowing your payouts, your transactions, keeping track of all that stuff, knowing what your year to dates are, all your analytics and all that stuff is another pretty big important role in Jobber for us.
yeah, I really like they've come a long way since like I've been using them for a few years and they've come a long way on like the reporting and the analytics, and
Yeah.
so I love that like now you can go in and you can run a report and you can see like what's your conversion rate,
Yep.
what money is on the table. It's really good to help you run the business better. But
Yes.
I was gonna say like some people get on the fence. They're like, oh man, a CRM, it's going to be so expensive. And they're looking at that price.
Yeah.
And to me, what investing in a CRM says to my clients is I care,
Yep.
right? It says
100%.
I'm professional and I care about your experience.
Uh-huh.
I want you to have an experience that has ease and, there's great communication, it's clear, there's
Yep.
no like gray area. So I love like the automations that are built into Jobber.
Uh-huh.
Like our customers know when we're going to show up because we say
Yep.
when we're on our way. They
Yep.
get reminders.
Yep.
They're gonna have all the details of their job.
Uh-huh.
They can have confidence in like the payment process of,
Yep.
like you mentioned, the secure jobber payments.
Yep.
So all of that says I care.
Yep.
And I think when you're trying to, speak to your customer,
Yeah.
you want to not just, what am I trying to say? It's like the things that you do to
Yeah.
invest in your business speak to your customer.
Yeah, it's
So
like
like,
it's part of your first impression, like when they
yeah,
see you walk in with that with that tri paper that you got the white, yellow, and the pink. They're like, you know what I mean? And then you come up with them like, hey, no, I just sent you a quote to your phone, and they're like, oh, pick up their phone, it's right there, everything's broken down in detail, super easy. And it's like, you put your card right here, you can pay whatever, however you want to do it, you can pay your
Yeah.
deposit, and it's just comfortable for them. You make a really good first impression because it shows you care. It shows you have, some type of organization in your business and you're willing to. And also, like I had a client tell me the other day, like the fact that you're using something to protect their data, like
Yeah.
nobody, you got a truck and you got all your papers in the front. What's to say one person don't walk by and just look in your front window and now you got all that customer's information just sitting there. It shows you care.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got their stuff in basically a secured locker that's just for, your admin and yourself to see, and they respect that a lot.
Yeah, that's really good.
Mhm.
And so I think if anybody's listening to this and you're maybe on the fence of like, you're asking yourself like, man, should I invest in a CRM? I don't know if I can afford it. And I say this all the time, but just to say it again, maybe this is your first time listening to my podcast, is like you can't afford not to invest in something like Jobber because Jobber is really going to enhance your business. It's going to make it more efficient and it's going to actually help you to grow. So, yes, it's an investment, but there's definitely a return there. And, you'll definitely see that. And I think like anything, um, you can't like set up Jobber and then do nothing with it,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and then just
Do
not
nothing. Yeah.
do, okay, well then it's not gonna work, but it's not because it's not effective, it's because you
You're
were
not using it.
lazy in the implementation, right?
Yeah.
But if you get it set up and you use all of the different features that Jobber
Mhm.
has to offer, you're going to get incredible value out of what
Absolutely.
Jobber has to offer for your business. So, one, I would say like definitely use Jobber, and second, like make sure you just implement everything that it has to offer,
Yeah.
um, because it makes a difference.
And on top of that too, like if you like people that aren't tech savvy, I was one of those people that wasn't really tech savvy. I do have an iPhone, by the way. I love Apple products. But like I wasn't a tech savvy person. That's why I was like, oh, well, I'm not gonna know how to use this. But I'm like, if I can take the time to write out by hand all these invoices, I can get on a CRM and type it in. And if you don't know how to use it, they have an awesome, chat team where you can reach out to them and you can even call them and set up yourself with, somebody, and they can go ahead and walk you through. If you tell them this is how I want my business to run, this is what I'm looking for, they can tell you how to set everything up step by step. And
Yeah,
it's like give that thing an opportunity, give something an opportunity so that way you can protect your customers' data because
yeah,
it's huge. It's like, and I tell people all the time, like if you're not like some of those CRM out, like Jobber's not one of those CRMs out there where you pay thousands and thousands of dollars,
right.
a month for it. So I tell people all the time, like this hits home with some people, but and then it don't, because it's like if you don't have that 150 to $300 to invest to organize your business, then you're probably doing a poor job anyway. So it's like
Yeah,
if you're trying to build in a big establishment and we built this from nothing. Like we had $0 of income coming in, when we started this. And the first thing I said is like CRM, and everybody's, some people are going to be on, if that's listening, maybe like, well, I don't have that to invest. The thing is, you can always talk to Jobber and get 3 months free. They'll
yeah,
get, if you're a first time user, they'll give you a couple free months. That gives you 3 months to organize your customers, go out there, do everything you need. And I'm guaranteeing if you're providing an awesome service, you'll make $300 or $180 or whatever it is in 3 months. Like, and
yeah, for
if you're
sure.
not, there's something else that's a problem. It's probably your marketing or your drive or willingness of what you're doing. Because you
Yeah,
got to kind of love you got to find your love in what you do, and then make that your job instead of just trying to chase a dollar amount and stuff like that. And I get some of my buddies, like my buddy actually here in Ohio, he has five, head shop stores, and I tell him we tell each other all the time, like you can either chase money or you can chase your passion. You can only get so far chasing money.
hmm,
You're gonna get frustrated, but if you're chasing your passion, you're still gonna get frustrated. But it's like you're happy to learn about it. You're happy, and I feel like that about like handyman service or CRMs. Like I'm happy to learn about them because I know how much easier it makes your life as a business owner, and it makes it for your client, as it makes it for your team, as a
yeah,
whole. Because when they're, like you said, when they're going on jobs and the client, oh yeah, we pre-called every job too as well. Like either we have the contractor going out there or myself or our admin call, and they're like, yep, every time they say, yep, we got the text message, don't worry. And we say, yep, but it's still one of our processes to call and hear your voice, you know? And
Yeah.
it creates an awesome experience as a whole. So I think that anybody that's not tech savvy or feel they can invest in it, like utilize their 3 month free service and just use it as much as you can. Cause I'll promise, I mean, I'm sure you know, Brandon, like they won't go back from it. It makes life 10 times easier.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like once you do it, you realize you can't live without it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
and I love the point that you made is the way that I looked at it when I first signed up for it, because, obviously I had to overcome some of the same thoughts as like
Hmm.
the cost and all of that. But I was like, if we painted one, I had to kind of break it down of like, okay, well, what does that look like in my
Yeah.
business? What would I have to sell to cover that? Or what
Hmm.
would I, as the owner, maybe have to go and do myself? That's
Yep.
like one bedroom. That's
Yeah,
one
literally.
one door. That's,
Yep.
a couple hours of work
Yep.
to cover the expense of
Yep.
that CRM. So like at the end of the day, let's say we add that expense to the business, it's like, well, if it came down to it and I could go find a room to paint to cover
Yeah.
it.
100%.
But it's never been that way. I've never been in a situation where it's like, oh, I've got to find the money to cover this. It's like
Yeah.
it's actually, since I've used Jobber, my business has grown,
Yep.
right? So,
Absolutely. 100%.
um, and I mean, ultimately, the reality is, and I say this all the time, is it gives you your time back to focus on things that help your business make more money,
Yep.
right? If I'm not being bogged down with sending out emails, typing them up, and making
Yep.
a ton of phone calls, and um, having to write out handwritten estimates or type them up.
Yep.
All of those things add up time,
Yep.
right? And Jobber saves that time, so now you can get that time back reinvested in your business to grow.
To
So
grow your
to
business.
do the things that, like maybe like for me, that's going to network meetings and meeting
Yep.
people, building relationships and um, but whatever that is for, whoever's listening to
Whoever
this,
it
it's going
is.
to give you that time. And
Yeah.
it's freedom. Like you talked to like early on in the show, you talked about making time for your son.
Yep.
Well, it's like, well, Jobber also can give you that freedom to focus on things that matter most.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
huge for me too. Like
Yeah.
I've got two kids, I got a son who's 4,
Yep.
and so I was talking to this business guy a couple days ago, and um, I I can't remember the exact details, but I own a second company, and
Yeah.
we were talking about what we could do to like grow that and
Uh,
scale it and all. And I just made the comment like the painting company like is my like number one source for like
yeah.
income, pays my bills, takes care of my family. This other
Absolutely.
thing is like if it takes off, great. If it doesn't, I'm not like sweating it.
Yeah.
Um, and I said you could hand me $50,000 today, and it wouldn't be worth my time with my son, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
100%.
gonna take that 3 hours, 4 hours in the evening with my son
Yep.
over any amount of money
Any
any
amount of
day.
money. Yep.
Yeah. And I say like if I have to grow the business at the expense of what's most important, like for me it's my faith, my family, and
Yep.
the things that like fill me up, right?
Yep.
So like
Yep. Things that bring
staying,
you that joy and that excitement, things that bring you
yeah,
joy, excitement, and keep you happy, and you
yeah,
don't want to fill yourself with the things that like work brings you excitement, but too much work kind of bogs you down.
yeah.
And that's why I
And I
say
think,
that's when you're physically out there doing it all or physically out there running around and don't feel
yeah,
like you have that break or that time for yourself, your family, things like that. Like people don't understand that self-care is huge in
yeah,
growing a business. It's huge. Like you can't go, balls to walls all day long. You got to give yourself that time and that split with your family, or like your kids, your girlfriend, your wife, your whoever is most important and things that bring you the most joy. You have to make time for those things. Like that's prime, prime.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it's like anything.
Yeah.
If you, I've even heard people who are, you know, super devoted to a sport, right?
Hmm.
If they do it, give me 1 second. My dog's barking. I'm
Okay, you're
gonna
fine.
I'm gonna have to edit this out, but I need to
Uh,
go let him out really quick.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry about that. I don't know if
Yeah.
you could hear them in the background, but
I didn't even
uh,
hear him until you said something. I was like, I think I heard a dog, but I wasn't sure.
yeah, yeah, she,
That'd be so tunnel vision.
yeah, she's probably barking at like a lizard outside or something. It's just,
Yeah.
but anyway, so let's jump back into this. So obviously, like self-care, as you mentioned, is really important,
Yep.
and I think at the end of the day, I was talking about athletes, right?
Yes.
And I've heard, I grew up surfing, hence
Yeah.
the
Yep.
surfboards in the
Yep.
back. And I remember one of these guys that I looked up to for a long time.
Uh-huh.
He retired, and he was in a post-retirement interview, and they're asking him like, how are you processing this? What do you think? Like, what are you gonna do now? And he's
Yeah.
like, look, I've devoted, the last like, 20, 30 years to this sport. I've done
Uh-huh.
it, like it's all I've done. And he's like, I'm honestly like, I'm tired of it. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted from it.
Yeah.
Because when you do something, even something you love, if
Yeah.
you're doing it from like an aspect of like now it's become a job,
Yep.
it can rob the enjoyment
Yes.
from the
100%.
thing that you were once passionate about. So,
Yep.
I mean, even with like I'm passionate about my business, I'm passionate about building things
Uh-huh.
and building businesses, but at the end of the day, like it has to have some margin, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be if you're working, 12, 14-hour days on your business every, 7 days a
Yeah.
week and sacrificing everything at the expense of that. Well, it's unhealthy and
Yeah.
eventually you'll just burn out. So,
And then a lot of
um,
the times you look at that and then you calculate your time into it, and then you got to tell yourself, you look at your numbers, you're like, well, I just made $6.45
sure.
this week, and you're like, that ain't gonna work. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
it's at that point you tell people like that's the one thing that made me go from like being an employee to business, and the one thing I had to learn really hard is like you've got to get the most value out of your time as well, because if
Yeah.
not, you'll be chasing either dollars or whatever it is for your whole life, still even trying to live paycheck. Like running a business is hard. I tell people all the time it's super hard, but so is being broke and not, you know what I mean? And all businesses don't succeed, but also like you gotta respect your actual life and what you're bringing to it and what you offer and use your skills to your advantage and
Yeah.
know what people need, you know, and it's just you gotta come out there and have a good passion about it. But like you said, like you touched on earlier on the show, is you can kill that by doing something you love way too much. And like it it's like when you go through your 20s you don't see that, but then
Hmm.
when you start like when you get some people in their 20s like a like they'll see that like 23, 24, 25. But then you'll usually when you get to your 30s you're like, okay, I got a family now, like dang, I've been working this hard my whole, you know what I mean, and you start
Hmm.
valuing your time
Yeah,
a
for
lot
sure.
more.
Yeah.
So
So let's kind of jump this. I think this is a good segue into fitness. Like
yeah.
obviously, like I've seen your content
Hmm.
on social media.
Yep.
Obviously, you're a big uh what is the word I'm looking for? Supporter of like
Yeah.
physical fitness
Yep.
and
Physical
health.
activity. Yep.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. What do you do to stay fit? How does that affect your performance as a business owner? How does it help you to show up as a leader in your business? And
Okay.
why is it important to you?
I'd say, I mean, the number one thing is routine. Um, a lot of the times you got to sit and think to yourself, like, you got to it's part of my routine. Like, a lot of people try to squeeze fitness in where they can and here and there, but it's like, I feel like it works the best. And like, I have clients that I train to, 'cause I also have an online fitness business. But the clients that I train and work out with and things like that, it's like, don't overcomplicate it. Find that block of time in your day and do it during that time every day, whatever works best for you. You got to make time for it. And it helps me become like more of a leader, because when that routine, I start at 4 in the morning every single day, Monday through
Come on.
Sunday. And I don't like to tell people to do that, because like all people aren't meant, like people's circadian rhythm isn't meant to
Hmm.
get up at 4 a.m. Some people are meant to be working out at 11 p.m., which is perfectly fine, because that's your,
Hmm.
my thing is 4 a.m. And the reason it helps me stay on point, my phone's not ringing at 4 a.m. So between 4 and 7 a.m., that's all me. That's
Yeah.
all me. And so I got 3 hours to be clear-minded, to think about how to plan my day. I wake up, obviously brush my teeth, wash my face, get ready, go to the gym. And usually when I'm headed to the gym, I'll listen to a podcast or I'm listening to affirmations. I don't even play music up until like I start actually working out. Like I listen to something, I learn something. So that way, after I'm done, for one, I'm relieved. And for two, I have all these ideas in my brain that I've calculated and taken notes from that I then go, when I go to start work or a job's happening, I start applying those things to my business, because that's where I'm optimal at thinking between that 4 a.m. to like noon is where like my brain functions the best. Like when it
Hmm.
comes to innovation, speaking with people, things like that. After 12, I'm more so either I'm physically doing something or I'm running errands, dropping things off, doing things for the job, stuff like that. But that just physical fitness as a whole, like I've always told people, even having a kid, people don't have the time for it, and everybody doesn't like to do it. And so what I tell some people is like, even if you get up in the morning before, say an hour before you have whatever you got, or say 2 hours and go on like a 30-minute walk, you'll
Hmm.
feel so much more better and so much more at ease, because some people can just wake up and it's like, oh, I got to be here in an hour. You got to get dressed, you got to cook breakfast, you know what I mean, you got your whatever your morning routine is, you got to start doing, like, it's always rushed. I don't like to feel rushed.
Yeah.
When you feel rushed, you don't perform well. I think so. That's why, like, I've always been into health and fitness, but like over these last like 3 years, I really started like checking like certain things in my blood level and just like kind of like investing in my body. Cause I tell people all the time, would you put regular gas in a Porsche? No.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
go out and buy a Porsche, you're not gonna put regular gas in it because that's your investment, correct? So yeah, I tell people don't do the same to your body, but at the same time, I'm not gonna also say that, it's not okay to have a McDonald's cheeseburger. There's some people out there that'll say, don't have it, you're gonna get this, or whatever. But I tell people all the time, food is food, but there's better food than others. But if you don't have any food, like one thing is okay. Like, but don't make it a repetitive thing. Like we're
Yeah.
all humans here. Like don't overcomplicate your life, but switching up a couple ingredients and things you eat will make the world of a difference for you. Like I saw a girl yesterday here in Findlay, and she said she does makeup and this and that, and she's trying to get more in the gym and her business. She's struggling at her business because she just feels rushed with everything. And so I asked her, I said, "What's your routine look like?" She says, "Well, I come here when I feel like it, and then usually I wake up and sometimes I'll go out with my friends." And I was like, "Well, you don't have a routine. If
Hmm.
you're gonna try to run a successful business, like it starts with taking care of yourself as a person and creating a routine for yourself. Like I'm not telling people to go out never and go out and get a six-pack abs or like these some of these Instagram girls and look leggings and like I'm not saying that, but like overall just regular health, little things, like little steps make a huge difference. And
Yeah.
so I told her, I was like, create a routine for yourself, make it in the morning so that way you're not overthinking when you get to work. Because when you're in there doing hair, I feel like hairdressers, like outside of real estate agents, hairdressers are a very big, a great marketing, like a great marketing group of people to have, because all they
Yeah.
do is talk to,
Talk to
especially in a
people.
home service, yeah, they talk to whoever, whether it be guys, girls, whoever, doing their hair for hours at a time and just talk about services. That's all
Yeah.
they talk. They just talk the whole time. So everybody's always like, "So where do you market?" And like I tell people, I'm like, hairdressers, stuff like that. I was like hairdressers, real estate agents. And so like I meet these people at the gym and I'm always talking to them and they're like, I see you in here every day at 5:15. And I'm like, yeah, this is my routine. This my day doesn't happen without this. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
and once I realized and I made that like a thing, like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I never go to the gym in the afternoon. But like if something happens in the morning or we're traveling and I don't get there, or the hotel that I go to that we get when we're traveling over the road and where we stay don't have a gym, which drives me insane because they'll say it online they do, and then when I get there they'll say they do, and then when I go there's none. Um,
Hmm.
it's weird, but like that's just a part of my day. Like you just gotta figure out where it fits, and it's not gonna fit every day. That's why you do everything kind of like in time blocks for yourself. But it just makes a major role, gives you confidence in yourself. It makes you feel good. You're releasing dopamine, endorphins, and good stuff that your body should release to let you know, like, okay, I can do this. And it gives you a little sense of motivation and a little bit of a push. And that's
Yeah.
where that's what really like drives me to go. And on top of just like being physically comfortable, I don't want to have to be breathing heavy chasing my son around the backyard. Like,
Right.
I see some of these videos sometimes of people, and I never knock anybody, but I look in, I'm just like, man, what if something happens where you've got to like be active for your kid or something of that sort, or your family, and it's got to happen, and you just can't, like that scares me,
Yeah, yeah, for
it,
sure.
it terrifies me, like, or for like your animals or whatever, like I just want to be able to be there. And it's not going to be like that for the rest of my life, but for as long as I'm in control of it and have that capability, I'm going to make sure,
Yeah.
because there's never been a client that I've ever had on the training part of it or just the health part of, my business or my life, that's ever said it hasn't helped them.
Yeah.
But then, you'll talk to people, or they'll, which I never knock people smoking vapes and stuff like that. They always say, don't do it. Oh, no, it's terrible, or people that smoke cigarettes. Oh, no, it's terrible. Don't do it. But like with fitness, it's like, yo, do it. You may not like some of the things you do because you're sore, you hurt. Like, it's awful, right? It's
Yeah.
awful. But it's like once you start, you got to get through those phases. It's just like in your business, you got to get through those little steps that's hard to be able to create, a comfortability and a like for it. Like I'm like the huge person of always putting myself in uncomfortable positions. Like if like I'm at the gym and I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'm lifting and my arms get tired. Most people at racket, I'm like, okay, now I got 10 more. And it's just that push because it like I feel like it trains your brain also to push through when your mind's telling you no, because your body's gonna instantly always tell you to step back when it's in a place of uncomfortableness.
Hmm.
So like that's when I know like okay, you got to push a little bit harder, because
Yeah.
when you're going up the hill, you got to get over the wall. And so I feel like the gym does that for me to be able to utilize that into my business. So then like when things get hard, the first thing I find a way to do is like what's the positive outcome of this? If I feel like there's not a positive outcome out of it, it's a lesson. So everything
Yeah.
in your business that's even a struggle is a lesson, or you can, overcome it by doing better and learning from it. And I feel like that's what the gym does for me. It gives me that push and that mindset to know that when things get hard, you got to push a little bit further to get the results that you want. Because most 98% of people are going to stop right there at that wall when it gets hard. And
Yeah.
that's why so many businesses fail, so many businesses struggle. And that's where fitness just like it makes a complete world of difference for me. And a lot of people that I've met, that owns businesses, like they're physically fit at some point in time. Like you don't necessarily have to go. If you do at home workouts, that's fine too. Whatever gets your body moving and gets you sweating just a little bit, get your heart rate up, it works. Don't
Yeah.
overcomplicate it.
Yeah. It's a lot of good advice that you gave in that. And
Mhm.
like I just want to unpack a couple things on
Yeah.
myself is um you talked about seasons of is the way that I hear it. And
Mhm.
like for myself, I started going to the gym years ago, and
Mhm.
after not going for a long time,
Yeah.
I was super fit when I was younger, didn't
Mhm.
go because of a job I had, and then got back into the gym. And then I'm a 4 a.m. type guy too. I
Yeah.
wake up every day at 4. It's
Mhm.
just I prefer to get my day started that way.
Yep.
My kids aren't up yet. My wife's not up yet. No
Yep.
distractions. Phone's not ringing. All those things you mentioned.
Yep.
But then I went through a season where so I have a 4 year old, and we actually have a 5 month old. And so like
Mhm.
when my 5 month old, I'm all about family and like
Yeah.
being there for my family. And so there was a season where like I sacrificed going to the
Yep.
gym at 4 a.m. because I wake up at 4, I go at 5, but um because I wanted to be there for my wife. Like when
Yep.
she was getting really close to having our daughter, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be at the gym if my wife goes into labor.
100%.
Right. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to the gym for a little while. My wife's
Yep.
getting really close here, and I want to
Mhm.
be there for my wife. And then like my daughter, obviously when you have a newborn, that's a challenging
Oh
season.
yeah.
So I was
100%.
like, I've got to be there for my wife in this season.
Yep.
It's a sacrifice. I was like, but she's gonna be, these sleepless nights where she's waking up to feed the baby,
Yep.
and I was like, I just, I felt like that was my priority. But now I'm back into my routine. Now
Yeah.
my daughter she sleeps through the night. wife can get her rest, and I can
Absolutely.
wake up at 4, everybody's still asleep, and
Yep.
so I feel better about that. But all that to say is like, the important thing is consistency, right? Getting
Yep.
started and then
Yep.
staying consistent,
Yep.
whatever that looks like for you. Have that routine, stay consistent, but
Yep.
also understand that there are seasons, right?
Yep.
So you might have a season like that where you've got a new kid and you got to adjust a little bit.
Yep, and like
Um,
when we had Kobe, it was the same way for me with Kobe. And like when I was like, all right, so I didn't like to get up at 4. I got up at 4 still, but it was more so like, okay, to make sure Amanda's okay, make sure, the girlfriend's okay, she's good, she's well rested, because I'm like, you can't take care of baby if you're not taking care of yourself. So like it's like I would
mhm,
change like either the time I went to the gym, or I went through a phase where, like, this is what I tell a lot of people. I went through a phase where for 3 weeks, like after we got home from the hospital, I would just stay home and just do body weight stuff at my same time in the morning while, being there taking care of the baby, bring him out in the living room with me, turn on whatever's on TV's right there, make sure he's fed,
mhm,
whatever like that, and let her sleep and just stretch, do yoga. There's so much more to like health and fitness than physically going to the gym. And that's the one thing I preach. Like,
mhm.
with having a kid, it's completely different. Having multiple kids, which I tell people all the time, you're a rock star, 'cause it's completely different than just even having one. It
Yeah.
plays a huge role on people's lives. And you're no longer on your time when you have a kid. Now you're on, your wife's time and your baby's time and
Mhm.
things like that. So the seasons is definitely a thing. Like I feel like everybody goes through their season, but I tell people whatever works for you, that's what works. If it's taking care of that baby and keeping you, whatever keeps the mind sane, I tell people that overall is health and wellness. Like your mind is
Yeah.
a huge aspect in it. Rather, you don't have to physically be in a gym lifting weights and stuff like that. You have to care for your loved ones and be there and support them 100%.
Yeah,
So
for us, like what that looked like was family walks
yep,
in the evening. So
absolutely.
like for me as a business owner, for my schedule and picking up kids and stuff like that,
Hmm.
it's either I have to, like, the morning is really the only time that I can do like the stuff by myself,
Yeah.
right? During the day I've got work, and then I pick up the kids, and then
Hmm.
my wife gets home late, and then it's like dinner rush,
Yep.
getting kids baths, getting kids
Yep.
to bed, all of that stuff.
Cleaning up
Um,
the house, picking up toys, putting
Right,
something
right.
in the day. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, so what we would do, and we even still do this now, is after dinner we'll go for like a family walk,
Yep.
So like we would drive before we moved recently, we would drive down to this big bridge and we would
Okay.
walk over the bridge together and walk
Nice.
back, or
Yep.
whatever. But that was like our way to like keep moving and stay active. And
Yep.
then, obviously the door opened up where like, okay, now I can get back to the gym.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like that there's you can always create an excuse of like why you can't move or why you
Yep.
can't do certain things. And
100%.
I like that you make the point that it's like, okay, well, maybe there might be a season where you can't go to the gym, but
Yep.
can you do body weight squats with your baby in the living
Yep.
room
I do it all
100%?
the time.
Yeah,
All the time. Do body
Um,
weight squats with the baby, lunges with the baby while you're holding them,
yeah.
And I tell people, like, this is like a lot of times when you run out of time, like, or go through a season of that lifting part, focus on your mobility. Because, as we get older, our tendons, our joints, they just get tighter. So work on that time to become more mobile, like flexible, things of that sort. Practice some yoga at home. Like, that's super easy. And then it's like too, I think like it's a taught behavior in like your household with your family as a whole, taking care of your body. Because as a person, as a father, as a boyfriend, going to possibly be a husband, it's more so like you got to be there for your family. And if they see you taking care of yourself, that's huge for them. Because I do it, you do it for yourself, but you also do it for them, like because you want to create that behavior. You
Yeah.
want to create that behavior in your household. Like, okay, like everything don't have to be perfect, but like take care of yourself to a certain extent, to that way you're okay. You feel good about yourself, and things like that. So that's huge
Yeah.
in family. Like just like creating like the activity of your kids, keeping them moving. And like Kobe, like my son, he gets screen time and stuff like that, and we don't really limit it at all. Like I know everybody's got different opinions on it, but
Hmm.
it's like if he is watching something, it's like something informational, something where he can learn. And then if it's either something like he likes to watch fitness or like sports stuff, so it's something that keeps his mind going, keeps him active. And then we put it down for a while and hey Kobe, stretch for a little bit, or I tell him, hey Kobe, show him your squat, and he'll just start squatting with the tablet. That's
Mm-hmm.
what he like, and it's just the taught behavior. He sees dad doing it, he sees mom doing it. We make it fun, so
Mm-hmm.
it don't feel like you said, it don't feel like work. It doesn't feel like, oh, hey, tell my girlfriend I need you to do 50 air squats right now. She's like, no, absolutely not. You know what I mean? It's more so like, hey, all right, Kobe, do some squats, and then he'll do them, then I'll do them, and the next thing you know, mom's doing them. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
a learned behavior. It's just part of your family lifestyle. And I tell people, don't feel like get down on yourself because you're not making the physical gym, that there's
Yeah.
so much more to health and wellness as a whole than just the gym is only like 2%.
Yeah.
The rest is like nutrition, mobility, things like that, your mental space, your
Yeah.
business, your financials. Like financial plays a huge role on your mental aspect too, but keeping active and keeping a clear mind helps you
Mm-hmm.
be able to excel at a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I make a point to other people all the time is like how important it is. Um, you mentioned this is like you don't just do it for yourself, you do it for your family. And I'm a big supporter of that. Like I go to the gym because I want to be a good example to my son, right?
Yep.
Of
Hmm.
what it looks like to be like a healthy individual, take care of my body.
Yeah.
And then also I want to be able to like enjoy being my son's dad as long as I can, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
so it's about like longevity
Yep.
and being able to function as long as possible at like as healthy as possible.
Yep.
And I'm actually reading a book right now. It's actually called I think it's called Longevity. I'll give you the you might actually enjoy it
Yeah. I have to
since
check
you
it out. Send me the link.
yeah,
I
let me
love
look up the
love me
title
a
of
nice
it.
nice little read.
It's actually a really long book.
That's okay. I'm a, I'm
It's
a, I'm a, I'm a 3-page per night guy because my attention span's super short. But I tell
right.
people baby steps are better than no steps. So 3 to 5 pages is my night thing.
Yeah. So it's called Outlive and
Outlive.
The Science and Art of Longevity
Okay.
um, by Dr. Peter Attia. I think that's how you say his last name. But
Okay.
really what it's all about is like it talks about how there's like there's four main areas that people die from. And I know
Yeah.
that sounds kind of morbid, but he's like it's either heart disease, or you're gonna have mental what is it? I can't think of the word, but
Mental illness or
not mental illness. It's like like Alzheimer's,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
those I
Something that
forget
affects your
um
brain. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But then there's like diabetes and
Hmm.
then the fourth one I can't remember what it is. But anyway, there's like four, and he calls them like
Yeah.
the four horsemen. He's like everybody is going to at some point probably be affected by one of those four things,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And the he says like basically the goal is to pinpoint which battle you're going to have, and
Yep.
that could be because of like family medical history.
Uh-huh.
Like, do you have a history of heart disease? Do you have a
Yep.
history of diabetes? Do you have a history of yeah, it's gonna,
Alzheimer's or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's gonna
um,
drive you crazy that you can't
that
think
I
of the
can't
word.
think of the word. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, like mental decline, I guess.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
you're anyway. And so he's like, the what you want to try to do is identify which one is your battle,
Yep.
and then start doing the things that you can now to create, like to offset
Hmm.
whatever that thing is that's trying to
It's
come
like
after
it's
you.
like preventative maintenance is what I tell
Yeah,
people
yeah,
on your
yeah.
cars. You just order some new tires. It's preventative maintenance.
Right.
Keep it
And I
ready.
mean, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you have young kids, like, I
Mhm.
feel like one of the greatest ways that you can say I love you to your kids is taking care of yourself,
Yeah,
right? It's
100%.
like, hey, I realize how important I am to you. And
Hmm.
because I'm important to you, I'm going to take care of myself so that I can be around as long as possible and
Yep.
be as healthy as possible to enjoy our time
Yep.
and everything together. And so like when I'm working out, like my why and what I'm thinking of is like, man, I love my son and my daughter
Yep.
so much that
100%.
I've got to do this not just for me, but I've got to do it for them. And
100%.
then it even goes to like, I think a big part of being successful in business and life is having a healthy marriage or
Yep.
relationships. And like, so for me, it's like, I think of my wife, I'm like, man, I'm like, man, how can I be the best physical specimen as possible for my
Yeah,
wife, you know?
100%. Yep.
Like, gotta keep that flame alive, like, keep
Yeah.
that attraction, and
Yep.
like, I feel like one of the best ways that I can say I love you to my wife is to take care of myself,
Yep.
right? If
Yep.
I just let myself waste away, like, I don't feel like that's communicating, hey, I love you to
Yeah.
my wife. I
Yep.
want when I go out with my wife or when I'm seen with my wife for my
Mm-hmm.
wife to be like, yeah, that's my husband. Like, he
100%.
takes care of himself. And so, um, that I think that taking care of yourself, your physical fitness, your mental health, all those things play such a huge role into your success as a business owner. So,
Absolutely.
if you're listening to this and that's a challenge for you, like I think we all find ourselves at that point at some
Yeah.
place, but it's definitely important. It's something that, you have to get started with. My question that I'd like you to like maybe go over really quick as we
Yeah.
bring this to a close, if somebody's listening to this and they find it to be a challenge to like even get started, let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, man, I haven't been to the gym in 5 years. I'm 100 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
I eat McDonald's every day for
Yeah.
lunch in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
What are some small steps and just encouragement that you would give to somebody who's like just getting started?
Somebody who's just getting started, I would simply say this. This is what I do for any person I ever work with that's struggling with, those same things. It's more so they're more so embarrassed with themselves, is what I'll say, which I completely understand because I've been there. Just start in your local neighborhood. It doesn't take anything in for you to walk down your stairs or out your house and walk around the block, for 30 minutes. Just don't, like the thing I tell people, do not overcomplicate it. That's the best advice I can get. 30 minutes is better than nothing at all. As long as it's moving forward towards your goal. And then eventually, I promise you'll create a habit that'll then lead you to want to do more. Because us as creatures, when we create some traction, it's like a snowball effect. You want to do more, and then you want to do more, and then the snowball gets bigger, then it gets big. Then eventually you're going to get that confidence to go to the gym because you're going to realize that just from walking for the last year 30 minutes every single morning, and kind of changing up your diet a little bit or drinking more water, like find substitutes. Like, so if it's because you're too busy, then try to meal prep a little bit. Like I tell people all the time, a turkey sandwich will go a long way. You can
Mhm.
you can get awesome results from just eating turkey sandwiches. So if you feel like you're too busy, just pack like 3 turkey sandwiches, and that'll keep you from grabbing that McDonald's or whatever in the morning. Or like a really easy one is just eggs and toast if you like eggs. Everybody's nutrition preferences are different. But like I say, just start in your local neighborhood and just walk. Just find your peace and your happiness. Any type of movement's better than no movement. So like
Yeah,
that's what I like. Like so many people like struggle with that, and I'm like, look, dude, it's or dude, lady, whoever, it's so much easier than you're making it. The real struggle is you fighting with yourself every morning to make it up. Make it. If that's what you really want to do, then just get up and do it. Wake up 2 hours early and go for 30 minutes, and I
yeah,
promise you, when you get home, you're gonna be like, holy moly, this is
yeah.
awesome. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna feel good, you're gonna feel accomplished, and then now you start your day, and it's gonna make things 10 times better. It's gonna create that snowball effect for you.
Yeah. I would also say this, like, so as I mentioned before, when I was younger,
Hmm.
I grew up surfing. I was an ocean lifeguard. I was
Hmm.
really fit, like
Oh yeah,
ripped.
yeah, yeah,
And then I sat behind a desk for like 6 years.
yeah,
And so I put on a lot of weight. I went from like 4.8% body fat, 132 pounds to
yeah,
like putting on a ton of weight,
yeah,
and I don't even know what my body fat percentage is now. But
yeah.
so when I started my fitness journey again,
Hmm.
one of the things that I wrestled with is I was like, I felt defeated because I was like, it's going to be so hard to get back to who I was,
Yeah.
right? So I was constantly comparing myself to like,
Your
this is
past.
who I am now. That's
Yep.
who I was. I'm never going to be,
Yep.
4.8% body fat again.
Yep.
I'm never going to be shredded.
Yep.
So and so it was like I was letting the results determine whether I was going to get started.
Yeah.
And then I had to come to this place where I said, it's not about the results.
Nope.
It's about the discipline, the
Yep.
consistency,
Yep.
and the results will come.
Yep.
But if I don't get started, then there's
That's the
no
thing, man.
chance.
There's no
You
chance.
know,
That's all you gotta
there's
do.
no chance.
Hey, you get a, yeah, I tell you, you miss 100% of shots you don't take.
Exactly. Yeah.
Every
So,
time. So you gotta sit down and like you said, you gotta sit down, lock in, and stop comparing yourself to your old self, or stop trying to fit in your old jeans. Stop trying to fit in your old shirts. You're a completely new person. You're more mature. You're more developed. Like focus on your journey now. That was a chat. Like think about it like a book. That was your beginning chapter. That chapter don't come back when you're moving forward. It only comes back if you go backwards. You're never gonna be able to go backwards like that. So just keep moving
yeah.
forward and build a better chapter.
Yeah.
It's all part of the journey.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not saying that, um, you know, because now what I realize is getting back to that is easier than I thought it was before I got started,
Yeah.
right? So, but you don't realize that until you get started, right? And you
Yep.
start putting the work in. So
Yeah.
like, now I go to so like my routine is I wake up at 4 every day, and
Hmm.
on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I go to the gym.
Yep.
And on Wednesdays and Fridays I run with one of my buddies, and we
Nice.
do like
That's awesome.
3 or 4 miles.
Yep.
And like I'll leave my house at 5, like we did it this morning. So
Yep. Yep.
it's funny because like I'll be running and he shows up at like different parts of the run every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like he like sometimes I'm like at his house and he's walking
Yeah.
out the door. Other times we're like at some other random part on the way to his house. But
Yeah.
I run to his house, and then we
Uh-huh.
run around his neighborhood, and then we run back to my house, and then he
Yeah.
runs home.
Nice.
But
That's
all
awesome.
that to
It's your own
say
little
is,
personal little run club, man. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. And so but as I've put the time in, I realize like it might take time to get to where I want to be,
Yeah.
but it's like you realize, okay, it's possible. And
Yeah.
then for me, the big thing that I'm working on is trying to like get better with my nutrition,
Yep.
because I'm not terrible.
Yeah.
I don't eat like crazy, but I know
Yeah.
I need more protein in my diet. I know
Yeah.
there's some things that I could take out. I need to drink more water,
Yeah.
um but anyway, it's just man, if you're
That,
listening to this, I would just say
yeah.
like you got to get started
Yeah, and
somewhere.
then anytime anybody's got questions, man, they can always get a hold of me on Instagram or wherever. Like, just ask. I tell people all the time, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, if anybody ever needs any nutrition tips, it's a lot simpler than people think. It's just you got to switch up the ingredients a little bit.
Hmm.
But you can, like, for instance, the other day, prime example, I most people were like, oh, well, I just love burgers. That's fine. Get 96.4 beef, because for every 4 ounces that you eat, which is 112 grams, which is a regular burger patty, there's 23 grams of protein and only 4 grams of fat. Versus if you go get that double cheeseburger from McDonald's, you're going to be looking at like 68 grams of fat in just that burger. You can make
Hmm.
them at home. It's completely fine, and it's cheaper than what you would pay. Like everybody's in this phase right now. Groceries are expensive. I saw this actually traveling over the road. This is another. Groceries are expensive. I can't buy. They've got $6 hot dogs these days, and I'm telling them, I'm like, yeah. I was like, dude, I was like, give me a call. I shared my Instagram with them. I said, give me a call or a text or whatever, my phone number. And I was like, you can eat. I said, you're buying 2 for $5 hot dogs, but you're saying groceries are expensive. So I bring inside. I said, I got a pack of these smoked turkey ballpark hot dogs, have 0 gram of fat, 6 grams of protein. I pay $6. She's like, yeah, but $6 for hot dogs. I said, I get 8. You're buying 2 for $5.
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So like in a sense, it's like it's tough until you start asking questions and educate yourself. It's just like anything else. Start educating yourself a little bit on it and just asking questions. And people are there. There's so much information out there on social media these days that it confuses a lot of people, and that's why I feel like we go through, like, health and wellness has become such a big thing and a big part of people explaining how they run their lives to run their businesses and things like that, because people got comfortable, and then at the end of the day, it's okay to get comfortable, but it's so much information out there that you don't know whose information to take, because you take somebody's information and say, somebody can come on here and say, oh, ballpark hot dogs, do you know what they're made of? You know what's in them? Did you ever look at the ingredients? And it's like, uh, And I have a friend like that, she's always telling me like, Curtis, you shouldn't eat that. And I'm like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing I feel like is healthy is just water. In all
Sure.
honesty, because like now I go to the store and people are telling me not to buy organic, and they're like, because organic's not really organic, and I'm like, well, at this point, so like people like that are listening out here, just find what you want for yourself and focus on that and educate yourself on the things that you like. Because if you try to sit there and take in everybody's information of how to run your personal life, you're going to be lost. And that's where a
Yeah.
lot of people's have become lost, because it's like then they hop online and they'll see, Instagram. And I'm a realist. Like I tell people straight up, like where I stand. And it's like I've got some vegan clients, I've got some clients that won't eat fish, and then I've got clients that'll eat everything. And it's like they're like, how do you manage all those different people without having a specific niche? I was like, because the number one thing in common with everybody that I work with is basically you can do whatever is within your means as long as it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't sit there and overcomplicate it. Don't try to find what, a bunch of, try to look at things and I it gives me anxiety when I see people and they're reading every single little ingredient on this
Yeah.
list, and I'm like, that's too much work, but that's what they like, so I don't knock it, and that if you educate yourself on that, and that part of your nutrition where it's that deep, where you're more holistic approach, go for it. I learn from my holistic friends all the time, and we always butt heads every single time. But I still
Hmm.
train them. They still train with me. I still give my food recommendations to them. They just tell me certain things that they don't want to eat, and I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I got a client that lost 60 pounds and they ate that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
They had bad gut health. No, they actually went to the doctor and they're the healthiest they've ever been.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a way. Don't get too caught up with trying to get too much information, and that's all I can
Yeah.
tell people.
No, that's good. The book that I'm reading right now about longevity, it talks about that. It says
Yeah.
it's not so much about exactly what you're eating. He's like, but there's two things that you can do that make a huge impact on your overall health. And
Mhm.
he's like, increase protein
Yep.
and water. And
Yep.
he's like, so like, don't, he basically says like, it's not so much of a matter of like, oh, did you eat that like burger with bread instead of lettuce? It's like, well,
Yeah.
did you get a good amount of protein in your
Yep.
diet?
Yep.
Is it so important, that you had a snack with your son?
Yeah.
But did you drink a lot of water today?
Yep.
So he mentions that, and then like another thing, and I don't know what your opinion is on this, but I know
Mhm.
that it's something that I've been trying to do
Mhm.
is like little changes in my choices, like for example, portion sizes. So
Yeah.
like we went to Chick-fil-A the other day.
Mhm.
We've gone a couple times the past couple weeks, and it's
Yeah.
like my normal order might be like in all like transparency, it's one of two things. It's either the chicken strips with a large fry and a
Yep.
large water and
Uh-huh.
half water, half lemonade,
Yeah.
or my normal order would be the chicken deluxe
Mhm.
grilled with a large fry and a
Yeah.
large half water, half lemonade.
Yep.
Well, I was like, you know what? Like, do I really need a large fry? And do I really have to have the, fried or crispy chicken tenders?
Yeah.
No. And do I feel over full after eating it? Yes.
Yeah.
And so what I've been doing is like, well, what's one healthier choice I can make with this? I'm just gonna get the grilled nuggets.
Yeah.
So like I'm getting the protein there.
Those grilled
I'm gonna
nuggets are so good. They're so good.
skip the fries
Yep.
and get my large water and half water, half lemonade. And that
Yeah.
so now that's like my go-to Chick-fil-A order is like the
Yeah.
grilled nuggets and that drink. And then like that translates like at home,
Uh-huh.
I try to like instead of like I'll eat my decently portioned meal,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not like it's like okay, I don't have to get a second
Yeah.
serving,
Yeah.
right? So like cutting down on portion sizes too is
Yeah.
and I'm like, well that,
If it feels good for you and it works for you, I tell people work with that, Like me, if I go to Chick-fil-A, or like in your case when you go there, you can still get the large fry. I tell people, but the one thing I always tell people is find out what your TDEE is, which is your total daily expenditure, how many calories you're burning by doing nothing. Like Once you figure out what that is, and then you know how many active calories you burn, that'll tell you how many calories you can eat. And it depends. If you're trying to grow, you're going to want to eat in a surplus. So you're going to want to be above that number, which in simpler terms is obviously you can eat more than the amount of calories you burn in a day. And
Hmm.
if you want to start losing weight, it doesn't matter. Like I tell people, I've went through this phase where I've tested all these things. It does matter what you eat, but it doesn't as long as you're in a deficit of the amount of calories you burn. So like I know if I go to Chick-fil-A, like my order is pretty similar to yours. I'll get the chicken deluxe grilled chicken, but I'll add the bacon and I'll add the cheese. And I might even upgrade to a large fry depending on how many, like I count my calories to a certain extent, but I've gotten to the point after like when I started like 3 months of keeping track of it. Now when I eat stuff in my belly, I can feel like, okay, I'm over my fat content for the day, or I'm over how many people are afraid of carbs. And I'm like, dude,
Hmm.
carbs is what gives you the function to move. Protein's what's going to give you your muscle building and your fat burning. And then fats is just going to, help with your overall brain capacity, stuff like that, your skin, all that, like especially healthy fats. But
Hmm.
it's okay to get that fry as long as it fits within your means of what, you know what I mean, of what your actual goal is. And so that's why I tell
Yeah.
people it's nice that you do that and separate that portions because that works for you. And that's a lot of my clients. Like you tell me this on a Zoom call, and I'd be like, dude, that's awesome. And I look at your chart, and this when you pull up your chart, track your weight, and if it's going down steadily, and you've had Chick-fil-A, and you're like, dude, I had a fry. I look at it, I'm like, but you still lost 0.2 pounds, so who cares? At the end of the day,
Right.
there's gonna be some people that get on there, blow out all that grease, and it's like you still lost 0.2 pounds at the end of the day. And his doctor says, as long as your doctor is saying you're healthy and you're
Hmm.
looking great and you're feeling good and that's what you choose to do and you want to portion it and not get the fries this time because it makes you feel better, do it. But if you do want those fries and you can afford to have them.
Yeah.
Like that's like my biggest thing. We travel over the road, we pack, and there's times where we stop and I'm looking at my girlfriend, I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, I'm like, I want Hardee's. And she's like, Hardee's? Out of all places, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I want, and I get it. And people are
Yeah.
like, you can't be, uh, you know, being a leader and talking about all this stuff when you come to work about health and fitness and running all these jobs and coming in a cutoff. If you're gonna have Hardee's, I'm like, yes, I can because I put in the work to have it. And I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I know what my numbers are, and as long as you know what your numbers are, you can have whatever. For the most part, whatever you want. You can have your Chick-fil-A with your family. Don't pull up to. I can always tell when certain people, like if I'm in a restaurant, which I'm usually not paying attention to other tables, but you can always see who's that person that's trying to eat cleaner, which is fine, which is perfect, but they're stressing because they're like, oh, dang, this chicken's got cheese on it, or it's got cheese and shrimp, and it's like, but it's all the grease, and it's like, can you do? And it's like, just get the chicken with the cheese on it. Just prepare for it, just like everything else. If you know
Yeah.
you're going out to dinner on a Friday night with the family, you're probably going to intake 2,000 calories. That means eat, eat, eat accordingly throughout the day, so that way you can have that large meal at night and not have to think twice about it. Like when
Yeah.
I get back home from Michigan, I'm gonna document all this. So I think it'd be really cool if I'm gonna share it on the internet. Me and a buddy of mine, Donnie, who's also another online fitness trainer, and we do a lot of the handyman work. He's more the commercial contractor guy. We're gonna run 5.1 miles and then go do a 28-inch pizza challenge and eat a 28-inch pizza. But it's not together. We're all gonna have our separate one. It's gonna be three
Yeah.
of us. So we're trying to get a couple more guys to do it. But like people are always gonna be like, why did you go do all that work to eat that pizza? Because I'm gonna take a picture what I look like before. We're gonna run the miles. I'm gonna eat the whole pizza and then take a picture of what I look like in the morning and show people that like you can eat what you want if you put in the work and burn the correct amount of calories of the amount of
Hmm.
calories you're bringing in for your body. And I think that's huge for like where we're at as like I want to say like I wouldn't say country, but as a world right now with health and fitness. Like there's a lot of people super nutritiony and like, oh, don't have these type of things, and there's a lot of people that's like, oh, just have this, but there's like nobody in the middle that's really kind of telling people like, yo, you get McDonald's, who cares? It is what it is. Did you burn the amount of calories to have it? Now
Right.
where I have my problem with most people is it's like if you're overabundance eating over and over again, and I see your numbers going up on the chart, and then I say, hey, Bill, you've gained 17 pounds, and he's like, oh, well, I ate clean. And I'm like, no, you didn't, because you didn't track it. And I can tell based off your photos, like I have everybody take photos because it's like I can't help people if they don't show me what they look like. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, so like I tell some of my guys that are contractors that I train, and I'm like, you guys, like, I'll train, usually my contractors that work with us, I'll train them for free just because they're already working for us. It's just, I just want them to be healthy. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't have this. Like, you brought us pizza last week. And I'm like, yeah, but you know how many calories you burnt carrying, 27 boxes of wood flooring up to the third floor between
Mm-hmm.
two of you guys, like you burnt those calories off for me to bring you pizza. You're perfectly fine,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I tell people all the time, like, the food part of it is, I like that people are being conservative about it and smarter about the choices, because like we do get like when you go to those restaurants, they give you a lot of servings and it's a lot of calories for something
Mm-hmm.
that'll make you full temporarily, but in 2, 3 hours you're gonna be just as hungry again.
Yeah.
So I tell people, be mindful of what you're eating, but don't over stress it. Like, just know, if you know how your body operates, start with knowing how your body operates, how many calories you're burning. After 2 weeks, you'll completely understand your body. Like, a lot of people think it's hard, just like when it's like for doing finances for your business or your handyman business
Mm-hmm.
or your service business. Like, oh, I got to look at all these numbers and organize them. It's the same with your body. Oh, I got to figure out what I got to eat and stuff. But once you figure it out, you can walk away from it and literally just, you just know. It's just in your head, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is how many calories is in this. This is how many calories I've burnt today. And if you have an Apple Watch, some people don't like the 5G waves and stuff like that. But if you have one or a Fitbit or something, when you go on walks, just hit track and you keep track of
Mm-hmm.
your calories, and you can literally live off that. Like, I got some buddies that track everything, and then you've got me. Like, I track 75%. With
Sure.
my clients, when you first start off, you've got to track 100% for the first month. And that's only because I want you to create a routine of tracking it, only because I want you to know what's in certain foods that you eat on a daily basis. Because I
Right.
don't change people's workout or their nutrition plan based off of just healthy options I think is good for them. I tell them, what do you eat? Give me what you eat for the next 24 to 48 hours. And then I make them
Mm-hmm.
a meal plan based off that. If you like lasagna, I can create you a high protein recipe for lasagna. You can have lasagna 3 times a week if you want. It's up to you, and that's
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like, a lot of people, and then it's like, if you say in there you like Chick-fil-A, I will put in there a day where that Chick-fil-A, that's your day. That you add it into your meal, you're good to go. As long
Yeah.
as it fits within your macros. There's a couple influencers I follow online right now. They go through it's called eat anything for results type of thing, and they're the same like mindset as me, as like, as long as you know your body and what you should be intaking and what your goal is, you can you can be a little bit laxed on eating, but obviously nutrition is forever the cheat code to optimal health, for sure. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say that you can just eat McDonald's every day and get in shape. If you do it correctly, you can,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a lot of gym work.
Yeah.
Like, you see these influencers online, like, oh, I ate McDonald's every day for 6 months, and I tell my guys, when I go on a job, I pull up with Chick-fil-A on a contractor job, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, what? And I'm like, I can eat this because I burnt this yesterday and I got to make up for this. Like, it's just because,
Yeah.
like, they don't tell people that you gotta put in so much work in the gym and things like that to be able to do something like that every day. Like, that's a lot tougher than people think. But if you're like a here and there type of person, or you want to go, cheat here and there, that's perfectly fine. If you want to cheat 4 days a week, that's fine. Just
Right.
know your body first. Know your
Yeah.
body first. Know what you should be putting in and how it should be operating, and you'll be good.
Yeah, that's good
Yep.
stuff. Good
Yeah.
insight. And my wife is actually in the fitness industry, so she
Yeah.
she echoes a lot of the things that you're saying. So
Awesome. Yeah, that's
good
awesome.
stuff. Yeah, well, hey, I'm gonna bring us to a close here,
Yes,
but
sir. Yes, sir.
I appreciate your time and just the insight and value that you've been able to bring to the listeners
Hmm.
today. So
Yeah.
I hope if you're listening to this episode of this podcast that you've gained some value from what Curtis and I have talked about, from leadership and managing the holistic approach of your life, right? From your fitness, your mental health,
Yep.
your leadership, your family, all those things. Everything matters. So I hope you've gotten value. If someone's interested in reaching out to you, Curtis, for more information, what would be
Yeah.
the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me either on Instagram, like I have my Instagram page. It's at the real Curtis Boyd. That's it. Super
Hmm.
basic. People make fun of me for it all the time, but it was super easy for me. You can get in contact with me there. I utilize that to really contact more on like the fitness and holistic side, but I'm more active on that than anything. I'm pretty active on our Uniservice because Uniservice 247 is our the business Instagram for the handyman business. I'm fairly active on that, but that's more so my admin. But if you got like questions just about life, because I know everybody gets caught up in trying to like do business is fine, but I've kind of made business my life. So it's like if you hit up my personal Instagram, I can talk to you about either the handyman business, or I can talk to you about your holistic approach to life, and if you want to become a better leader, or if you just want to, you say, hey, I want to eat some pizza, do you have a deep dish recipe? I can give that to you too. So yeah, that's how you guys can get
Awesome.
a hold of me. Just anything you need, let me know.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you again, Curtis, for your time and the value you
Thanks for
brought to the
having me, man.
show. And then if you're listening to this on YouTube, please like this video, comment below, share your feedback, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you can get more of the podcast episodes that are coming, and share it with somebody so that they can learn from this as well. If you're listening on any of the major podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, please rate and review the show so that we can get the show in front of more people. And as always, if you need any resources, if you're interested in Jobber, like Curtis and I talked about today, there is a referral link in the show notes below, which I do get credit if you decide to sign up. And I also offer that anybody that signs up through my affiliate link, I will offer you free coaching on getting Jobber implemented into your business and how to optimize it for your business. So please use that. And we will see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.